basically, when this tree was in bloom, there were some bees who were landing on infected pear trees and picking up a bacteria.
Okay.
And then when they would come to your tree, they would visit the flower clusters and they would essentially inoculate those flowers with that bacteria. And the bacteria basically, it gets into that flower and then it just eats it up and it runs down into the stem.
Okay.
So you can see on here how everywhere, everything that's brown starts at the end and works its way in.
Correct.
This tissue here, you know, it had a flower cluster. You can see the little fruit that would have developed.
Right.
And those were visited by a bee. And so that bacteria, you can see, has actually worked its way down the stem and just turned it black.
Right.
So this symptom is what we call, well, it's what names the disease. It's called Fireblight because it almost looks as if the foliage has been scorched by a fire.
Right.
So what happens from here is that bacteria is going to continue to move down the stem. And so in order to actually get ahead of what's going on here, you would need to either yourself or have someone else come and prune out all the infected leaves that we see here. And the pruning would have to be done in a really particular way. But this is what you would have. You'd have 9 parts water to 1 part bleach.
Right.
So that in between each cut, you would actually take a pair of pruners and sterilize them.
Okay.
Of course, you don't want to do that in your best clothes.
Wear the gardening clothes.
Right, exactly.
Okay.
And so if you were going to try and control this in this tree here, you would need to look for all this infected tissue and prune to 1 foot below any of that. And of course, on this branch here, we can see we've got this branch. If we were to take it, well, that doesn't matter because there's some here. And then there's even some here. So if I were to prune to 1 foot below any infected tissue, I would be taking most all of this branch off, which means and instead of taking it off right in the middle here, which is what you don't want to do, I would be removing it all the way back to here. And in that case, you just lost a branch, and if you have to do that with every single branch on the tree, you're not going to have much of a tree left. So that's where it gets tricky, trying to decide, you know, if you only have a few very selected branches on the outer edges of the tree and you could easily just take those out without removing too much, go for it. Go ahead and do that. But if it looks like, if you were to go a foot below every single branch that looks like it's infected, you're going to end up, you know, on this tree with almost no tree left. And in that case, you might want to think about replacing the tree at some point.